I've got to tell you about this game-changing product. It's called ZBiotics Pre-Alcohol Probiotic Drink, and it's the world's first genetically engineered probiotic invented by PhD scientists. When you drink, a toxic byproduct builds up in your gut. That's to blame for rough mornings. ZBiotics is designed to break this byproduct down. Just make it your first drink of the night. Head to zbiotics.com/wild and use code WILD to get 15% off and 100% money back guarantee. That's zbiotics.com/wild.
Washington Times front page for Thursday, October 2nd, 2025. Thanks for joining us. I'm George Gerbo. Senators began talking about how to end the government shutdown, but are still stuck on Democrats' demand to revise the House-passed stopgap bill. Seth MacLachlan and Lindsey McPherson report the bipartisan conversations among senators on the first day of the shutdown showed some softening among Democrats who are opening to reopening the government without all of their demands being baked into law. Democrats are making healthcare the centerpiece of their resistance, targeting rising costs and access to coverage. Health policy polling group KFF estimates that if Congress fails to renew Affordable Care Act tax credits, average premiums for individuals who purchase their own insurance will spike by 75%. Republicans insist the only way out of the shutdown is their 7-week continuing resolution that would fund the government through November 21st. The Supreme Court will hear arguments next month in a case challenging President Trump's use of the International Emergency Economic Powers Act to set blanket tariffs on a long list of countries. Tom Howe reports the court is considering whether Trump overstepped in applying the 1977 law to establish reciprocal tariffs on dozens of trading partners. Democratic-led states and small import-reliant businesses that brought the lawsuit argue the tariffs are economically harmful and that Congress never granted the president sweeping authority under the act. If they win, Trump must start over to impose tariffs on trading partners such as Vietnam, Brazil, and the European Union. National Guard troops are being sent to more American cities as the White House uses their deployment in Washington this summer as a template. Matt Delaney reports President Trump said troops had arrived in Portland, Oregon, and he plans to send 100 Guard troops to Chicago to aid in U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement's crackdown on illegal immigrants. Democratic-led states are working to stop the troop deployments, and Republican-led states have either welcomed or requested the National Guard deployments to help address issues. Armed National Guard troops were stationed along the National Mall this summer in Washington, but served as mostly a ceremonial presence, taking pictures and standing around at tourist landmarks while federal agents patrolled city streets, alongside local police officers. Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh has emerged as kind of a high court interpreter. Alex Sawyer and Stephen Dinan report Kavanaugh has been writing more opinions and clarifications in recent court cases. In August, the court allowed Mississippi's restrictions on youth access to social media to remain in effect. Kavanaugh wrote to clarify that the law would eventually be declared unconstitutional. And in a July case regarding presidential firing powers, Kavanaugh said there was a fair prospect that the court would overrule precedent, so letting the firings remain while the cases proceeded made sense. And finally, although targeted killings have long been part of Russia's war in Ukraine, the tempo and reach of such attacks has accelerated since its full-scale invasion in 2022. Guillaume Patak reports over the past year, a string of killings has been blamed on Russian agents, with a growing list of high-profile Ukrainians being murdered. Targeted killings are only one facet of a broader hybrid conflict. Ukraine has responded with a clandestine campaign that it frames as legitimate defense. Find all today's front page stories at WashingtonTimes.com/front page or on the Washington Times app, and find us wherever you get your podcasts. You can also find us on social media at Wash Times for breaking news, sports, commentary, and more. For the Washington Times, I'm George Gerbo.
Yeah, I got to tell you about a new game-changing product. It's called ZBiotics Pre-Alcohol Probiotic Drink. It's the world's first genetically engineered probiotic invented by PhD scientists. Here's what happens when you drink. A toxic byproduct builds up in your gut. That's to blame for those rough mornings. ZBiotics is designed to break this byproduct down. Just drink it before your first drink of the night. Head to zbiotics.com/meateater and use code meateater to get 15% off and a 100% money back guarantee. That's zbiotics.com/meateater.